tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I suppose I don't get much spare time at the moment because most of it is spent working, and it is a very busy period for us at the moment. It's probably our peak time of business. But when I do get some spare time, I've got a teenage daughter. She's 15 years old. So anyone who's got teenage girls will know what that feels like. I'm mostly a taxi. Although I've been lucky, I suppose, the last 12 months because I probably haven't had as much taxi servicing as I might needed to if there wasn't a pandemic. So but yeah, other than that, I like to watch stuff on TV. I love the theatre, comedy. I'm a Nottingham Forest fan for my sins, so anyone who's into football will immediately feel sympathy for me there. And yeah, and sort of other than that, probably like a good crime show or a good crime novel. So yeah, that's me really in a nutshell.
Okay, and then tell us a bit about Minerva and why did you go about setting up the organization? What's the story behind it?
So interestingly, when I set Minerva up, which was over 11 years ago now, I was prior to that working for a high street bank. I was working in their corporate team, and my industry specialism in the bank was education. So I was looking after schools, colleges, universities, helping them with finance, helping them with funding for large sort of multi-million-pound build projects, that sort of stuff, and I loved it. I loved the people that I was working with. I loved the sector. I loved, just everything about it really. It was an absolute pleasure. And so when towards the end of my time in the bank, I think things changed. It was around the time of the credit crunch. Things were more difficult. And I think I lost my passion for what I was doing. And I also felt, and this is just a personal view, others may not have felt the same, but I also felt the bank lost focus on their customers as a result of this credit crunch. And so for me, the customer is always at the heart of everything that we do. And I always say to my team that ultimately the customers are the people that pay our wages, and so they're always the most important people. And I just felt the bank had lost that focus, and so I lost my passion for what I was doing and felt it was time, probably after 20 years of being there, to look at something different. So what I did, the opposite of what you would normally do when you set up a business. Normally when you set up a business, you would look at your product or service and then you'd consider what market you wanted to serve. And I did the reverse and decided that I knew what market I wanted to serve. I wanted to work with schools, but actually what could I do for them? And I could do banking and finance consultancy, but that would be a very niche offering in a niche market. And my partner at the time, he was worked in procurement, and so I thought, oh, this is interesting. Buying stuff, saving money, because even then, 11 years ago, schools were talking about the fact that they didn't have enough funding and that they were trying to make very stretched budgets stretch even further. And so I left the bank and just said, I was in a very lucky position that I could afford to do that, and just said to some of my old clients, this is my plan. Would you mind being my guinea pig and testing this out? I'd like to see whether there's an opportunity for you to benefit, for you to save money. I'd also, being totally honest, like to see if there's a living that I can make from doing this. And that's how it started. And as I say, that was 11 years ago. So I think we must be doing something right, because not only are we still here, we're growing. So it's all good stuff.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And so you talked about what the company looked like 11 years ago and how it started. So what does it look like currently, and what does the future hold for your business?
So when I first started, it was just me, on my own, working at home. We're still a small team, so there's only 4 of us. But this person that we will be recruiting, who are coming to join us, that they'll be the 5th person. And actually, interestingly, because of the level of business that we are currently dealing with, and also can see into the future, it's very likely that another person will probably follow closely after that. So we're really in a good space. I think what I've prided myself on with the business is being very careful about the growth. And that probably, in a way, perhaps working for a bank has made me a little bit risk averse, because that's kind of what you do in a bank, is you assess risk. But what it has done is it's allowed me the time to build some really solid foundations for the business. So I spent a lot of time working on, you know, templates for the business, processes, procedures. You know, we're ISO 9001 accredited, which for a small company, you know, that's quite a big thing to do. But it means that everything is very organized, very ordered, very process driven. And so again, I'm saying these things because if you're not a process driven person, this will probably sound horrendous to you. But if you are, you'll probably think, joy, you know, there's process and procedure to what we do. There's templates for things. There's staff knowledge, there's tenders knowledge, you know, documentation. So there's loads and loads of stuff that we have in place, which means that as people come into the business now, you know, they get a full induction, but also there's lots of stuff around that can help them straight away when they're coming in. And like I say, that's meant that the growth it has been initially organic and, you know, relatively slow, but we wanted to grow carefully to make sure that the decisions that we make, you know, they're permanent decisions, you know, as the business grows. So it is a genuinely really exciting time, actually. You know, Laura joined us back last November, obviously, which you guys helped us recruit. She's absolutely fantastic. So we're hoping to get a repeat experience and you know, and get another fantastic candidate to join our team, basically.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so we supported you, yeah, kind of in the recruitment of Laura, didn't we? So why don't you tell the audience a little bit about this role and what it will entail?
So this role is, I mean, we term it internally as a procurement account manager role, and it's really a role which is very diverse. So I think, you know, that will again either appeal to somebody that they like diversity, or it won't, if you like, you know, your day to be very set and very samey. So, you know, the role will involve a lot of evaluation of tenders. So the tenders that come in are schools in the main are you know, they're part of the public sector, and therefore the public contract regulations 2015 is very applicable to a lot of the work we do. Some of our schools are small, so they don't breach that threshold, and so we do some below threshold work. But yes, it's going to be supporting those schools in going out to tender for, you know, lots of different products and services that they do, that they require. So anything from we've done things like cleaning, catering, planned and preventative maintenance, occupational health services, payroll, grounds maintenance, MIS systems. I mean, there's a huge array of things that we do, which again makes the role, in my view, really interesting, because there's always something different to be getting stuck into and learning about. And as I say, there are some above threshold procurements that we do and some below. So there's again a variety in the type of documentation that you get involved in and the type of evaluation and scoring that happens. The schools that we deal with are anything from large multi-academy trusts of sort of 25 schools, you know, down to small, you know, standalone primary schools. So there's a huge diversity of clients, and that in itself, you know, is something that I'd be looking for from a candidate, is that ability to deal with stakeholders at all different levels, and not just in the schools either. We deal with lots of suppliers, obviously, as part of our tendering processes. And, you know, you will deal with the managing directors of large, you know, national companies, through to small local cleaning companies. So there's a huge variety of individuals that you deal with. But as I say, for me, that's one of the joys of the job, is that, you know, there's every day is definitely different.
Yeah, definitely. And so who would work well for this role? You know, what kind of background are you looking for, and personality traits within an individual?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things is attention to detail, definitely. You know, what we do is very compliance oriented, and I know that the team probably get a bit sick of me banging on about attention to detail and making sure that we follow procedures and processes, but it's so critically important, because our clients, when they sort of engage us, the reason they're doing it is because they need to be compliant, and they often don't have the expertise to do that themselves. So clearly that's the role that we need to fulfill for them. So we have to get that right, because it's, at the end of the day, they're the contracting authority. So it's their reputation on the line if we don't get it right. So that's why, as I said earlier, we've got lots of manuals and procedures and processes to follow. We've got lots of automation, through our CRM system, which tells you which bit of the job you need to do next. So, you know, it's really, and that's there not to be a stick to beat you with, but, you know, there to just help you and support you through that process to make sure nothing gets missed. You know, so I think an attention to detail is definitely something that we'd be looking for. The ability to analyse large quantities of data. Lots of the bids that we get in have sort of complex financials. So our catering tenders, for example, have, you know, complex profit and loss that comes in. There's labour schedules that we need to look at and make sure that they're accurate. With cleaning, there's productivity ratios to consider. So there's a lot of work with Excel documents and large quantities of data there. So, you know, a degree of expertise in Excel is probably essential. You know, you don't have to be a guru in it, but you know, you would need to have a good understanding of Excel and the use of that tool. So yeah, and analysing large quantities of, well, responses. So there's a lot of qualitative questions, and actually looking at the responses to those and evaluating those and giving a score to it. So you know, I think attention to detail, being able to deal with large quantities of data, you know, those are the types of things. But also, you know, it probably sounds a bit nerdy, that type of role, but you also, you know, will be dealing with the customers on a day-to-day basis. So, you know, you need to feel confident and happy to be able to talk to people on the phone, and also to be out and about as well, because we do attend site visits and host site visits at the schools where they're required. We do also attend the presentation days when bidders come and sort of bring their bids to life. You know, we support those. So, you know, if you're the sort of person that doesn't like to be out and about, then the role probably wouldn't suit you. But if you know, as I say, it's quite a diverse role, and I recognise that the skills that we're asking for are quite wide. But again, I think that's one of the joys of the job, really, is that there's so much to do that's very different.
Definitely. And why work for Minerva? You know, what's great about working here?
Get to work with me. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So I think what's really great about it is that we do have fun. I mean, we really do enjoy ourselves in our work. We have quarterly strategy days where everybody's involved in that. So it isn't just, you know, that's one of the beauties of being in a small organisation, is you're really in the thick of it all. You see what's going on, you're involved in how the business is evolving, and, you know, and our plans for the future. I'm very open in what I share with our team. You know, if someone asks me a question, I'll always give an honest answer. So you will really be very much part of the team, very much helping to drive the growth of the organisation and the changes that we make, because I recognise that I am only one individual, and actually I'm only as good as the team around me. And you know, I can't be expert in all the elements of the business and maybe how the business develops in the future. So you know, that's why I'm really keen to tap into all of the team and, you know, the collective brains that we have, you know, to see how the business grows. So I think that's, you know, one thing you'll definitely find is that you're very involved in the strategy and the growth of the business, and because of that, you get to see, I think one of the joys for me is that you get to really see the impact of the work that you do. So if you're in a huge organisation, sometimes it's very difficult. You can feel like a very small cog, and you don't really see the outputs of the work that you're generating. With what we do, you really do see it, because you speak directly to the client. They talk to you about what is happening with their catering service. They'll talk to you about the fact that oh my gosh, you know, the kids have come in and they're absolutely overjoyed. You know, they love all the food, you know, they're so excited about it. And, you know, so you really get that sense of ownership with what you do. And the people that we work with are an absolute joy to work with. You know, it's one of the reasons why I said at the beginning I wanted to work with this sector, because the people are great. You know, and so they're all really nice to deal with, and so hugely appreciative of the work that we do, which is lovely. You know, you get a daily pat on the back for a job well done, which is great. And I think that knowing that what you do has a direct impact on the educational outcomes of children you know, you can't put a price on that, because you know, if we do a great job and we save the schools some, you know, as well as keeping them compliant and out of trouble, but we actually save them some money on their contracts, that is, you know, that saving in their budget is going to go to other things that could, you know, it could be that a teaching assistant, you know, they don't have to let a teaching assistant go that they otherwise would have to. It could be that, you know, a child with special educational needs actually gets some additional support. There could be some resources that the school can buy that they otherwise couldn't. And knowing that, you know, you have that direct impact is such a good feeling. It's one of the best, for me personally, it's one of the best things about the job, actually.
Yeah, and what do you offer in terms of training and progression?
So in terms of training and progression, you know, I'm a huge fan of training. I think, you know, I'm constant. We have a one-to-one. I have a one-to-one with each member of the team every month, and training is a standard agenda item. You know, what training have you had? How has that benefited you? And what do you want going forward? And it's not mandatory. In the case of, you know, sometimes, you know, you get to a point where actually you've done more formal training, and actually it's about, okay, now I want to embed that, and I want to kind of learn on the job, you know, of what we're doing, and kind of embed that into the day to day. But yeah, I'm always keen on training, because I think for me, you know, the only way the business will develop and the only way that we all develop as individuals is if we're constantly learning. And so I'm really keen for people to, you know, have that opportunity to do training. You know, it could be formal, informal. It could be that you want you know, there's a book that you want that you feel is going to benefit you. You know, as long as there's a reasonable justification for it, then the answer is more than likely going to be yes, to that type of thing. So yeah, and in terms of SIPs, you know, we do offer funding for people that are doing their SIPs qualifications. So we're very happy to support that, because again, from a compliance point of view, you know, the more qualified people are, the more beneficial that is to my business. So we do also offer that opportunity as well.
Okay, I know that's brilliant. Thank you for your time and for sharing that all with us, Lorraine. For anyone watching this video and interested in the role, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can email me at rahim@headsgroup.co.uk. We will start sourcing for this role at the end of the weekend on Monday. So yeah, if anyone's interested, please do reach out to me. Other than that, though, thank you ever so much for your time, Lorraine, and was lovely speaking with you.
Great, thanks for the opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to seeing who would like to join us.